We're joined now by former Health Secretary Stephen Dorrell. Stephen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. I just want to start. You're an ex-Health Secretary, and I keep saying it to the point where I'm boring myself. This NHS for years has been revered. It's the great NHS, yes, but it ain't fit for purpose, Mr Dorrell, is it? We've got an ageing population, a bigger population. It's not just about money, it's about efficiency. But to me, yes, it's great, but we need to criticise it because it's not working, is it?
I wholeheartedly agree with you that if you're committed to the principles of the health service, and all the evidence is that the electorate embrace the principle that healthcare should be available to those who need it at the time that they need it without regard to their ability to pay. That principle everybody embraces. The question then is, how well do we deliver it, and could we deliver it better? And the answer to the first question is not as well as we could. So the answer to the second question is that we should be changing it in order to deliver the objectives better.
What changes need to be brought in then, Stephen? Obviously, you were former Health Secretary. It's a very different situation that we're in now. But using your experience, what would you change if you were in power tomorrow?
Well, the answer is usually here, it's not actually single stroke of the pen decisions by the Health Secretary. It's a whole mass of detailed changes. And Wes Streeting, the Labour health spokesman, has been talking about this, about the need to engage new forces. People bring new ideas into the delivery of GP services, bringing new ideas into which patients should be seen in hospital, which ones can be seen using technology in different ways in community services. Importantly, don't think about the health service as something separate from social care, and certainly don't think about hospitals as separate from GP services. This is one set of services that need to work better together, to join them up, rather than thinking about them as discrete silos. That's something that ministers have talked about forever. I talked about it when I was a minister. Others have talked about it. We need to be much better at joining up the different bits of the service.
Stephen, I remember speaking to a politician who will remain anonymous many, many years ago, and them saying that you go into politics and you have this great belief, and then you get into the machinations of government or Westminster, and it's difficult. Let's take Nicola's point a stage further, because it was a great one. Secretary of State for Health. You know, we have this debate so often. We see junior doctors striking because they shouldn't be doing 100 hours a week. We see nurses who accepted 5%, but, you know, say quite rightly, I think, this is vocational, but we feel that we're not supported. And you say to them, is it about hours and money? Is it about services? We have the debate about £200 billion and still it doesn't work. Let's put this in layman's terms. What would you do? Would you start again? Is it just money? How would you make it? Because, and I genuinely mean this, Stephen Dorrell, I think it's one of the greatest inventions in the modern world, but it is fast becoming, I'm afraid, something that we should criticise, and we shouldn't feel bad about criticising something that isn't doing what it should be doing.
Well, you started off by asking me, should we criticise? And of course, the answer to that is yes. Nothing is above criticism, and certainly none of our institutions should be above criticism. But equally, we need to be careful about sweeping statements saying it doesn't work. There are too many occasions when it doesn't work for individuals, but there are many, many other occasions when for individuals it does work. Take, for example, the issue you introduced this subject on, which is the ability of the health service to not just to recruit staff, but to keep them engaged and motivated and give them fulfilling careers. In some parts of the health service, you have very low staff turnover, very high levels of staff commitment, and people speak very highly of the working environment in some hospitals. But you can have other hospitals down the road where that isn't the case. Now, looking at an organisation, or a set of organisations more accurately, that employ 1.5 million people, there are some parts of it that are very good, and there are some parts of it that aren't as good as they should be.
All right, so very quickly, how would you make the bits that aren't good, very briefly, better? If you were doing that job now, how would you make it better?
So the answer is avoid the danger of over-centralisation empower local communities to deliver better joined-up services, GP services, social care and hospitals, all working together within the local community. That's better than a single national solution.
Well, thank you so much,
Brilliant,
former
Stephen.
Health Secretary Stephen Dorrell, for joining us this morning.